They say time buries secrets, that the deeper the mystery, the quieter the world becomes around it. But what if the answers were never far? What if, for over 2 decades, a father's disappearance wasn't a cold trail, but a sunken truth, just beneath the surface? December 27, 2003. That was the day Ernest Lee Franklin vanished without a trace. No goodbyes, no signs of a struggle. Just a man who left a family gathering and was never seen again, a father to 4, a son, a brother, a mystery that haunted South Carolina for 20 years. And then, in a single moment, everything changed. A sun-bleached vehicle pulled from a forgotten pond. Human remains inside, a name no one had dared to say aloud in years, spoken once again. This is the story of Ernest Lee Franklin. It was the day after Christmas in 2003 when Ernest Lee Franklin walked out of a family member's home in Hodges, South Carolina. He had been visiting with loved ones, surrounded by people who knew him best, people who had no reason to believe that this holiday gathering would be the last time they'd ever see him. Franklin told them he was heading to another family member's house just a few miles away. He got into his car, a 1993 Buick LeSabre, and drove off. He never arrived at his destination, and he never came home. When hours passed and there was still no word from him, his family knew something wasn't right. It wasn't like Ernest to disappear. He had a steady job, a strong sense of responsibility, and a deep commitment to his children. Panic began to rise. Calls were made. Friends were contacted. Local law enforcement was notified. And just like that, what began as a quiet evening turned into the beginning of a 20-year nightmare. The initial search was thorough, at least on the surface. Police combed nearby roads, checked hospitals, and sent out alerts. But days turned into weeks into months. And still, nothing. Not a trace of his car, no sightings, no evidence of foul play. It was as if Ernest had simply vanished off the face of the earth. His family, however, never stopped searching. His sister Sonia became a relentless force, posting flyers, following leads, and refusing to let the memory of her brother fade into the silence. She kept his name alive on Facebook, through prayer chains, in conversations with local reporters, anything to keep the story from going cold. But cold it went. For 2 decades, the case remained one of South Carolina's most baffling disappearances. Tips came and went. Rumors flared up and died out. Theories were debated. Some believed he'd left willingly, others suspected foul play. But no solid evidence ever surfaced, and with no crime scene, no witnesses, and no vehicle, the investigation stalled. Fast forward to 2023. A group called Adventures with Purpose, a civilian dive team known for cracking cold cases with underwater sonar, turned their attention to Ernest's case. These weren't just YouTubers with cameras. They were specialists, trained divers using military-grade equipment. They'd already helped solve multiple missing persons cases across the country. And when they arrived in Greenwood County, they brought with them something the case had long been missing: hope. In early November, they began scanning local bodies of water. One of their first targets was a pond along Puckett's Ferry Road, a location not far from where Ernest had last been seen. The sonar scans returned something unusual: a car beneath the water, almost perfectly preserved beneath 2 decades of silt and stillness. When the divers descended, they found what appeared to be a 1993 Buick LeSabre, matching the exact make and model of Ernest's missing vehicle. And inside, skeletal remains. The vehicle was pulled from the water under the careful supervision of law enforcement. The discovery sent shockwaves through the community. After 20 years of silence, there was finally a lead, finally a tangible clue that could offer closure. Forensic teams began working to confirm the identity of the remains. And just days later, the Greenwood County Sheriff's Office released the news. The car belonged to Ernest Lee Franklin. While dental records and DNA analysis would take longer to complete, all signs pointed to the heartbreaking truth: Ernest had been found. What followed was a complex mix of grief and relief. For his family, the discovery brought a form of closure, but also reopened old wounds. Questions that had gone unanswered for 2 decades now demanded explanations. How did the car end up in that pond? Was it an accident? Was someone else involved? Could the vehicle have been missed in earlier searches? Or had it simply been overlooked? A silent grave beneath the surface, waiting for someone to look closer. The location of the pond raised even more questions. It wasn't remote. It wasn't hidden deep in the woods or behind locked gates. It was within proximity of well-traveled roads and visible to the community. So how did no one see it? How did trained search teams miss it? And why wasn't this pond prioritized back in 2003? Some pointed to limitations in technology at the time. Others cited lack of resources or potential oversights. But for the Franklin family, the explanations don't erase the years of suffering, the birthdays missed, the holidays spent in silence. Sonia, Ernest's sister, said she always believed he was out there. In interviews, she described dreams where he appeared, sometimes alive, sometimes not, but always present. She had a feeling he was near. And when AWP contacted her in 2023, she said she felt something shift, as if the long-dormant search had finally found its pulse again. What makes this case so haunting isn't just the disappearance. It's the stillness that followed. No movement, no updates, just a family left to wonder for 20 long years. And in that stillness, questions festered. Did law enforcement do enough? Did the community forget too soon? Was there ever a moment when this discovery could have happened sooner? Even now, the investigation remains open. The sheriff's department continues to look into the circumstances surrounding Ernest's death. While there's no immediate evidence of foul play, officials have not yet ruled out any possibilities. The cause of death remains undetermined, pending a full autopsy. Forensic teams are analyzing everything: the position of the vehicle, damage patterns, the state of the remains. Every clue matters now. Every detail could bring justice, or at the very least, peace. The story of Ernest Lee Franklin is not just about one man. It's about the families left behind. It's about the failures of memory and the persistence of love. It's about a sister who refused to stop searching, about a community that finally remembered, and about a dive team that looked where no one else had dared to look. As of now, the final chapter of Ernest's story is still being written. But one thing is certain: he is no longer lost. His name is no longer buried beneath 20 years of silence. And while answers may still be coming, the truth is rising, slowly, painfully, from the depths.